How you guys doing today? Today I want to talk about mental health and debt and credit. I'm going to talk about three topics concerning that. The first topic that I'm going to talk about is money and debt stress, exploring the impact. Second topic that I want to talk about is debunking the debt shame. And the third topic that I'm going to talk about is finding support that empowers, the correct support. So if that's interesting to you, stay tuned. My name is Jay, and welcome to Ask a Debt Collector, a subsidiary of Clear and Strategic. Now, I've been in the debt collection industry for over 15 years. I've done it all, from management to owning 2 debt collection companies. Over the last 10 years, I've been the go-to guy for friends and family for questions regarding debt and credit. Now I want to be that person for you. If you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions. Let's go. Credit for most Americans, and I'm going to talk about foreigners as well because I get them and I don't want to leave them out who come to America. For the most part, it's not taught in schools, as we know. Most of us learn about credit and debt from who? Our parents. And if our parents weren't a good example with regards to learning about credit and debt, then typically that's passed along to you, and so on and so forth, until that's actually broken. And typically what will happen is either you'll learn from somebody and get some education with regards to it, whether it's you guys looking on YouTube and learning. That's one of the ways that I learned. Mentors and so forth with regards to credit. For myself, with regards to credit, I learned from my grandmother, and my first experience about learning about credit dealt with her and a large credit card balance that she actually paid off. One of the things she said to me is never get credit cards. I remember she settled out the account and she said that she'll never open up another credit card. And that was my reality when it came to credit, right? So I thought that it was bad and you should not have it, and that was the situation. Now, as far as foreigners goes, for the most part, obviously being in other countries, I've talked to people from all the countries, Mexico, Africa, are the main 2 spots in those countries, and I didn't know, but they don't offer credit for the most part, right? You typically just have to have cash to pay for it, and if you couldn't afford to pay for it, tough luck. If you don't have the money to pay for it, that's that. Then you come to America where they're offering you credit. And obviously, if you're not sound and understanding what to do with that credit, just like Americans, you'll find yourself in a bunch of debt and heartache and mental health when it comes to credit. Let's start with the first topic that I want to talk about concerning mental health and debt and credit. The first thing that I want to talk about is money and debt stress and exploring that impact to you. There's a very strong link between debt and poor mental health. People with debt are more likely to face common mental health issues such as prolonged stress, depression, and anxiety. It's very true. I've been in debt. And one of 2 things happen, right? You're either ignoring the debt, right? Because let's face it, you're not needing to get any credit. So your credit's probably messed up, but you're not needing anything with regards to that. So most of us, we just ignore it, right? We don't say anything with regards to it. It doesn't come up. We don't ultimately understand it, so you ignore it. But where the stress comes in, the anxiety comes in, is for whatever reason, you got to get into an apartment. Or for whatever reason, you got to buy a car for a new job that you have, or to get you around back and forth. Or for whatever reason, you're needing a credit card to actually to pay something. And you go apply for that credit, and then you're declined. And then you realize, you're like, what? Why was I declined? And then you realize you have a lot of debt. And that's where the stress comes, and that's where a lot of that anxiety comes. Or for some individuals, let's say you finally got that first $25,000 credit card, right? I get so many clients that come with regards to that. And then they've maxed the credit card out by spending it on a bunch of stuff that's not going to necessarily help you, that you couldn't afford in the beginning. And next thing you know, you have the minimum payment that's due on that credit card. And it's a very huge credit amount, and you can't really afford to pay it. And what ends up happening is all of this together, it creates a cycle that's hard to break. And then a poor financial situation may lead to mental health struggles. Then, once you're struggling with your mental health, it could become even more difficult to manage your money. So the debt continues to grow. Now, let's talk about debunking the debt shame. Many people feel stigmatized by debt, which can sometimes keep them from dealing with the situation head on. By ignoring the debt, it won't make it go away and could even make the problem worse. So you cannot ignore the situation. I come across people, friends and family all the time who have a lot of debt and they can't really afford to pay it or whatever the circumstance may be, and they ignore it. You can't ignore the issue when it comes to having the debt. You're going to have to tackle that debt on. This is what I say to every single person that I come across that have a lot of debt, and I can tell that that burden is very, very hard on them. I'll let you know. All debt can be repaired. I don't care how much debt you're in, how much money that it is that you're saying you're owed. If you're looking at being sued, if you're currently being sued, whatever the circumstance is, all debt can be repaired. And it's never too late to take the steps that are needed for you to change your situation. The last topic that I want to talk about is finding support that empowers you. One of the things you're going to want to do is take an honest look at your debt. The second thing you're going to want to do, review your credit reports. It's very important to look at all three credit reports. The reason why is because there may be something that's on Equifax that's not on TransUnion. And there may be something on TransUnion that's not on Equifax or Experian. So it's very important to look at all three credit bureaus because there are creditors that may only report on one credit report and some that may only report on two credit reports. And just because if you find yourself looking at one credit bureau and then there's something that's not on there, you can make mistakes with regards to how much debt you have in determining what is actually on your credit profile. The third thing you're going to want to do is determine what you can pay off and create a budget. I cannot stress to you how important it is. Every single client that I get, I'm stressing a budget. Because without a budget, you never know how you're going to be able to tackle stuff. You're going to have to get a budget. One of the things I recommend that you do is you pull a bank statement for the last 2 months. You write down every single bill that you had, all the way down to what I always famously say, a stick of bubble gum, right? Every single bill. And then you're going to want to make 2 lists. You're going to want to make a luxury list. You're going to want to make a necessity list, right? Which your luxuries are stuff that you don't necessarily have that you may be paying on because you're going to want to eliminate that. And then necessities are stuff that you're going to have to obviously pay. If you have a cell phone bill every month, you have a car note, you have rent that you're going to have to pay or a mortgage. Those are stuff that you're going to have to pay, and you're going to have to take a hard look at those luxuries and get rid of them because you're going to need that money to budget to obviously take care of your debt, right? I've explained, if you want to know, you have the snowball pay method as well as the debt avalanche method. I have 2 shorts. Check out my videos on my shorts. I'll explain both of those methods with regards to tackling that. The fourth thing you're going to want to do is reach out to your creditors. I always stress this. Don't just ignore the phone calls or allow things to go to collections if you can avoid that. Reach out to your creditors, tell them your situation or the circumstance that you're going through so that way they're aware of it. And a lot of times, a lot of these credit card companies or financial companies in general will have some type of program for individuals who get in hard times. And they'll be able to work with you. But if you don't reach out to them, you don't contact them, then they're going to just do what is normal protocol. And last thing you're going to want to do with regards to finding support that empowers is connecting with a trustworthy company. One of the things I say, if you're looking at debt negotiations, contacting a debt negotiating company, not a credit counseling company, but a debt settlement company is what it's considered. There are 2 things you can do. You can find one of those type of companies. Typically, you're going to put in a certain amount of money with regards to what it is that you owe, right? You're going to pay monthly, whatever it is that you can budget. After you've done your budget, you're going to give it to them. Now, understand, they're either going to charge you monthly to actually take on your clients, or they're going to charge you a fee with regards to settling out your accounts, right? So either if you're giving them, let's say $200 a month, they may take $75 off of that for managing your account. Another option is they don't charge you anything up front, but they may charge you 10 to 25% of whatever that settlement amount is. So if you owed, let's say on the higher end of 25%, just so that you understand, if you had $1,000 debt, they're going to charge you $250 to settle that account on your behalf. Now, not only will you actually have to settle that account out, but you're going to have to pay the $250 fee. So you got to make sure the numbers make sense. Another option that I have, I do settle out accounts for people, and I do charge a 20% surcharge with regards to that. Another thing that you can do is I do have a digital product, which is a lot cheaper. It's called Debt Negotiator Pro. It's down in the description, and that'll teach you. There's a 5-video course step by step on how to locate and settle your accounts out, making sure you're paying the right company. I'm not a big advocate on the credit counseling companies because you're paying them a fee, and it's a similar situation. Only difference is if you're paying them $200 a month, they're going to take their fee out of that $200, and then whatever's left over. So let's say they're taking $100 out of your $200. There's $100 left over. They'll take that $100 and evenly distribute it to 4 different accounts. They're going to pay $25 for each one of those accounts. Now, if you have debt, $15,000, $17,000, $20,000 worth of debt, paying $25 a month, yes, debt collection companies are going to accept that amount of money. But if you default with the credit counseling company, what ends up happening is not only do you end up owing that company, because they're going to make you sign a contract for a certain amount of time, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on how much debt you have. If you break that contract, they can come after you. And then by paying that little small $25 a month towards a $5,000 debt, if you default, then the interest piles back up and you end up owing it again. So I'm a big advocate of contacting the creditors on your own before it gets to collections and trying to negotiate at that time span. If you're not able to do that, or you have accounts that have went to collections and so forth, get Debt Negotiator Pro for a fraction of the cost. It's exactly what I do with regards to negotiating debt. I teach you step by step, and you can do that. Or if you have the money, you don't have the time, you can obviously hire somebody. And if you want to hire someone who's very good at it, down below, set up a 20-minute free consultation, and I can explain to you what I can do on that aspect with regards to that. Now, if you have any questions about credit or debt, put it down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions. And as I always say, you be great.